requirement may be under the one act, but we are being penalized, brought into, the limelight for no fault of ours. Therefore, I want you to think, because when I see men of wisdom, men of knowledge, men of professionals, men of standing here, who have been able to really put forth their views in terms of it, while we appreciate that they have tried to travel and tried to see that what best they can afford to concise. As my earlier speaker, even though I was too late, I could very well clearly understand that many of these issues on which they are yet to spell out, if they are going to keep it into the rules, the cost of compliance is going to be extremely high, which is not desirable. We are running an era where the system must approach, systematic approach, and where a system must speak, and we should never have any kind of a human element in terms of handling all these issues, as the case may be. That is what the businessman wants to retire, wants to peacefully sleep, and he would like to find a solution for it, and not getting into areas which will not only be costlier for him, but also it becomes a repetitive commitment for him. That is what exactly is happening today in this case. Nevertheless, the government ought to have also endeavored, made an attempt in terms of dividing the whole act itself into, in my opinion, into three major parts. Government companies must have only a very, very precise and a very small, because today the government is very active. Over a period of time, the government has certain amount of say in the business in certain segments. They can never get out of it. When the government becomes the owner, and the government also has got to control, then, in my opinion, most of these provisions of the Companies Act have no relevance at all in that. That should be totally independent, which should be very concise, because we are also dealing with the government companies on a day-to-day basis with several other requirements. The second ought to have been, when you introduce the one-man company, when your intention is only with limited resource-based activity, the corporate sector has to grow so that it becomes a family concern purely, where the accountability rests within the four walls in a very precise manner, then as long as they are not resorting to public funds, even with the limitation on public funds through the banking channels or any other lending agencies available, as the case may be, that should have been totally an independent issue, where you need not again and again travel for all these things to the government. Even to buy a petrol, where you happen to be a partner, it doesn't mean when it is a controlled commodity, when it is an administrative price, where is the need for us to go? And what is the kind of the cost that we were incurring even to get the petrol from our own petrol pump, where you and I cannot dab it? That was the situation, and that it continues today. So it makes no difference at all for us. So that ought to have been totally different. Then you should have had those companies which are listed, which are at least potentially available for listing, as they have now done. So those are the people who will be given certain amount of time to mature themselves, graduate themselves, to travel in the path, so that it will be easier for them not only to comply with the corporate law, but the host of other legislations which are governing in terms of the listing and other requirements. That is much more important for us. Unfortunately, even though government, originally there was some amount of thinking on this, as I told you, it is ultimately the bureaucracy that decide what the country needs. Despite the fact that we have a very powerful trade body and make repeated representation, because I have been in the part of it for the past 3 to 4 years, integral part of it, say many captains of the industry from different parts of the country have been there. The ministers are invited, we are being discussed, and they are being presented. They all listen for a few hours, and they'll go away and then pass on the slip to the joint secretary or director concerned, and ultimately what they decide is coming through. Anyway, unfortunately, this is not a forum where I should, but I want to awaken your thinking that ultimately, if you have to succeed in terms of a good corporate governance and management, and also if you believe that the accounts are the true reflection of the real health of the company, where you and I also subscribe to the signature for it, we need to certainly beg this question again and again and impress upon them at some point of time or other. So with this, you are left with already about only 45 minutes. Unfortunately, the highest embarrassment for anyone is keep them here and lift them to the sky. This introduction part of it, I think we should try to leave it and make only 1 or 2 sentences that in all the conferences, because effectively we are coming over here to see that how effectively we can afford to spend the time more fruitfully and constructively and knowledgeable for them. So I am also one of your, admired listener of Chinnaswamy Ganeshan. Let's hear him at the end of the session. Certainly we will have some kind of an interaction. Thank you very much for having me.
Learn in every moment. Today, after the start of the session, when Raju started introducing me, I learned two things. One, how to make a short profile to be sent to the organizers so that more time will be available for making the technical session for the speaker. The second, I should have engaged Raju as my consultant when I was looking for my life partner. I might have got a better partner, because what I have given as a small one, maybe he is talking again and again about Tirukkural, which is only 7 words, but it contains a lot of wisdom. Like that, what I have given is a very, very small profile, but the way in which he has spoken, even I am wondering whether he is talking about me or talking about somebody else. So maybe I might have used his services before. Thank you, Raju and Dhanapal, for this excellent opportunity, because it is two things which I was seeing on this. One is just see that. Normally, when you are depending on PowerPoint presentations, you may be advised to have a powerful presentation, whether with PowerPoint or without PowerPoint. Let me do that, because I have an alternative also for this. Where is my company's? My laptop for some time, because I was trying to use some videos. Raju has talked about a lot of Tamil poetries. So one of these things which we are talking about is Sevikku Unavillada Poldu Siridhu Vaitrukku Miyappadum. So I was between your lunch, and the session should have been completed by 1:15. I am starting at 12:30, so hardly 30 minutes, which is available for me as well as for my chairman to conclude, including to take the Q&A. So what I was trying to do in the entire session is, even though a lot of issues are there, I will pick up those issues which will be burning issues, and if time permits, we will go on discussing about other points. So I structured what are of the notified sections impacting the accounts, and what is new, which will have an implications on the financial statements, accounts, and other related matters. What is the format and content of the financial statement which we are talking about? Hardly I will take very lesser time on this, for a simple reason that it is nothing but our revised schedule 6, and we have 2 years of experience of how we prepare and present a financial statement. The most of my time will go on the depreciation accounting under the Companies Act 2013, because it is going to impact everyone sitting here, whether it's a small company, big company, whether it's a manufacturing company or a service industry. It will have a big issue. So we will see what are all the issues arising out of that, and what is the level of the preparedness which we should have to ensure that we are not having surprises at the end of the session. And then the accounting for CSR, a lot of people have already talked about CSR, so I will limit my observations on CSR to a minimum, because I will focus on the accounting matters a little bit extra. So when people are saying that 1956 Act, after 5 decades we are having new accounting, new act which is coming in, which brings in a lot of issues for the accounting professionals. I just wanted to share with you a small video to see what we believe as a change. Okay, I will up. What he is saying is, the one thing which the company requires is a change. So, in substance, when we are talking about the point of change in the Companies Act, we are literally looking for what is the change. We are not trying to identify what is the term change is concerned and how the change will impact the financials which the corporates will be preparing and presenting going forward when the Companies Act is notified in full. Let me just have a quick look of what are all the sections which has been notified with respect to Companies Act. One is all the definitions of section 2 which is having an implications on accounts has been notified. 133 where the accounting standards will be prescribed by the central government. NFRA will be taking the lead on prescribing the accounting standard. One clarification which has been issued when this particular section has been notified, but NFRA is not yet functional and no new accounting standards has been prescribed. The first question which has come is what is the accounting standard which corporate should follow? So fortunately they have given a clarification that you continue to have the same accounting standards which you are following at this point of time. So there is no change. So Companies Accounting Standard Rules 2006 will continue to be applicable for companies. One big relief that there is no change in what we are following as a standard for principles. Section 181, I will not dwell on this for want of time. 185, my predecessor has actually dealt with on this. There are some accounting issues also coming out of section 185. However, I will not deal with that. Another area which I believe that it is related directly to accounts, both management, the auditors, and also the other professionals like company secretaries and other people, is the provisions relating to chapter relating to frauds and other misrepresentation, and what is the penal consequences and punishments which has been included in that. So that is where we have to take a lot of calls when we are taking a shortcut or trying to find out a practical approach for some of the sections. Let me just brief you what is new, and then we will dwell upon some of the points which is very important for consideration. The first point is all financial, the year of all companies will be hereafter will be 31st March. Section 241 defines financial year. So it says that all companies should have 31st March as the year end. There are some issues arising out of this. We will discuss on those issues. Every company which has a subsidiary should prepare a consolidated financial statement. For the purposes of section 129(3), the word subsidiary includes associates and joint ventures. For example, if a company doesn't have a subsidiary but it has an associate or it has a joint venture, still it has to prepare a consolidated financial statement. We will discuss what is the issue arising out of that and what is subsidiary as defined in Companies Act 2013 vis-a-vis what was prescribed in the accounting standards and which poses the challenges. We will discuss on those angles also. All companies, whether it's a small company, big company, cash flow statement has to be prepared according to the definition of financial statement under section 240. Subsection 40, financial statement includes the cash flow statements also. So it becomes mandatory for all companies to prepare. The exemption is only for small companies and the one-person company. All other companies should have to prepare the cash flow statement. Depreciation accounting, totally we are moving from what we are observing presently. Some of the companies are following, or I should say from the statistics given by Mr. Ramesh, that many of the companies in India are following Schedule 14 as a diligent process for the purposes of depreciation accounting and compliance with the Companies Act 1956. So 2013 Act makes totally a different requirement, and it moves on to talk about the substance of providing for depreciation. If you see accounting standard 10 or your IFRS related standard, the related standard, it talks about useful life of the asset based on which the depreciation has to be charged in the financial statement. So the Companies Act 2013 is also talking about the uniform economic useful life, useful economic useful life of the asset. So we will have lot of discussions on this because it has some transitional provision which in my view will bring lot of concerns for companies, including a lot of issues on the net worth erosion for many companies. CSR activities I will touch upon a very small point because media has spent a lot of time only on talking about CSR rather than on any other matter. So I will only touch upon the accounting aspects of this. Financial year, all companies should have 31st as the minimum financial year. They have only given a 2 years transitional period if you are following a different accounting period. For example, if your company is following calendar year as the accounting period, you can have the accounting period for 2 more years and then you have to align with 31st March with the transitional period. Let me take, and they have given very specific exemptions for subsidiary companies. We will discuss on these practical issues. Let me just take this, all these checkpoints is what you are supposed to check whether I have the knowledge on this subject, because sometimes the questions will not come. So I create the questions and also try to answer.